Welcome. Let's take a look at factoring polynomials that you've seen before, are seeing in many different ways. And I'm going to focus here on some of the things I don't want people to forget. And you've already had some lessons on it, but still, let's look at it. We are factoring right now this one where the number in front of the x squared is a 1. That's a. Because remember, these are put in the sense of ax squared plus bx plus c. So here the b would be -1 and the c would be -12. So what we're looking for is to break it down to binomials where the first two terms are x and the last two terms will multiply to make this -12 and they will add to make the b. So one of the ways to do this, and there are multiple ways to do it, but one of them to think of it is you put the number that you're going to multiply to here, -12, and the number you're going to add to here, and then you figure out what two numbers will work to do that. What two numbers will multiply to make 12? So for instance, we have 12 times 1, but 1 has to be negative. We can have 6 times 2, and we are going to have 4 times 3. Well, in each of these cases, only one of them has to be negative because you're going to multiply to make it negative. But in these two, you can't add up to a -1. If you put a negative there with a 4, now you could add up to the -1. So this pair would work, -4 and 3. Over here, we'll put plus 3. I'll do that since I wrote the 3 already. -4. And so this becomes the factored form of x squared minus x minus 12. And if I wanted to take the time to do it, I would multiply it out and I would get -4x plus 3x, so it would be -1x, and I'd get -12 multiplying the last two. Now it becomes a little bit more difficult when the a is not a 1, but not much more difficult. We still want to get into this kind of thing. We don't know we know that there's going to be x's here to make x squared, but we don't know what the coefficients will be. It could be 6 and 1, or it could be 2 and 3, or 3 or 2. So the way we'll find out is we'll do the same method, or one of the other multiple ways that can be done. And I was going to do still the things that multiply here and the things that add here. The add one's easy because it's always and only the b. But for multiplying, it's actually a times c. That's important, a times c. We have to take the a and the c and multiply them. So when I do that, I get a -120. So now my goal is to figure out what are the possibilities, what are the numbers that would multiply or that would allow me to get 120, where the difference of them is a 7. And one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So if I start taking 120 and just think what numbers multiply to it, well, I could say 120 and 1, but that doesn't help me much. 62, I need to get to where it's a 7. So I'm just going to keep dividing here. 30 and 4 would make 120. 20 and, let's see, 10, 12, I think. 10, 120. Now it would be 10 and 112, wouldn't it? It would be 20 and 8. Okay, now I'm got to get my numbers right here. 5, 6, 20 and 6. 20 and 6. And 10 and 12. Okay, I still haven't hit one. Let's keep going. 9 doesn't go into it. 8. Does that go into it? Well, you see, you keep trying these. So what we do in some cases is literally just use a calculator and divide by numbers and see if you get possibilities. 15, 6, and 20. Ups. Now I'm starting to repeat them. So now, actually, when I look at these are just too big. We're not going to get a set. Well, these are too big. We're not going to get 7 of them. 20 take away 6. We got an 8. Here we got a 2, but here, if we did 15 take away 8, we'd get a 7. So if I make this a -15, then 8 take away 15 would give me a -7. And so now I have my two numbers. 8 times negative 15 would make negative 120, and 8 take away 15 would be negative 7. So I have an 8 and a negative 15, and then that's what I'm going to put in here. All right? So I'm going to put plus 8, I'm going to put minus 15, but we have to put something else into here. What we do is we have to take the a and we have to put it back into both places. So right now we have 6x plus 8, 6x minus 15, but that can't be the answer because if we multiply 6 times 6, we get a 36, and we don't want a 36 here, we want a 6. The idea of putting the 6's here is it allows us to look separately at these, one of the red there, and to simplify those. So if I look at 6 and 8, I can see that there's a common factor there. Both of these can be divided by 2, so I get 4x, now 3x plus 4. And I'm actually going to get rid of that 2. Here, I can take a 3 out of both of these and have 2x minus 5, and I'm going to get rid of that 3. 2 times 3 is a 6, and that's one of the extra 6's in there. So I put in 2 6's, and I just took one of them out. But I took it out by doing the factoring, because that allows me to break this down to what is the actual correct factored version of 6x squared minus 7x minus 20. Oops, don't go away. I might not be able to, I think I'm just going to have to, what is its problem today? Well, this time it worked. Okay. So if you multiply that out, you're going to get the 6x squared, you're going to get minus 15x, and you're going to get plus 8x to give the middle terms, and then the last two will make negative 20. Now let's take a look at the difference of two squares. Okay. This comes from the a squared minus b squared is always the result of a minus b and a plus b. Always, every time. Therefore, your job is to determine what a is and what b is. So here, a is y, and b is 5. So what we have is a y and a 5. So that means it's y minus 5 and y plus 5. As long as one is minus and one is plus. I think I'm just going to go around the edge this time. There. Now on the next one, it's the same exact thing. It just happens to be 5 squared minus y squared, so it's 5 first. So it's 5 minus y, and it's 5 plus y. No big difference. No big deal at all. Just you keep it in which order here. Now on the last one here, here's the same idea, but with the complication of having the number and the variable. But that shouldn't change anything. This is 5 squared with the x squared, and then 49 is 7 squared with the y squared. What you want to do is put the squares together as 5x being squared minus 7y being squared, because that's your a and that's your b. That allows you then to do the same thing as the others. We're going to do 5x. This time put the plus first, because it doesn't matter whether it's plus or minus first. 7y and 5x minus 7y. And so it's really no more complicated than the others. It's just recognizing that your a is a combination of two things, a number and variable, and the b is a combination of a number and a variable. What is new now, well, not really new now, but newer than the others, is the sum and difference or difference of two cubes. And here is where you have to simply just plain memorize the pattern that's in it. Just like here, where the pattern was a minus b, a plus b, you have the same idea of a pattern here, but it's not a simpler pattern. Okay, so one of the things not to do is don't do a minus b A minus B, A minus B. No, 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 no. I see that all the time, even from people who should know better because they've been doing it for a long time. Tend to forget. I understand you forget, but so you really work on not forgetting or thinking, oh, wait a minute, there's something about this. I can't forget about it. What is it? So this one, it's just simply, you've got to just memorize this pattern. You're going to have a binomial followed by a trinomial. And look and see what I do for this. So focus on the fact that whatever the sign is in the middle is the sign of the binomial. Plus, there's only one negative in the answer part. That negative is either in the binomial because this is negative, or it's inside the other part. In fact, now let's look at when it's positive. That's A plus B. I need to clear that up, give myself more space. That's A plus B. A squared minus AB plus B squared. They're the exact same except for the sign. Where you put the plus and the minus is the only difference between them. So your job is to identify the A and the B and then multiply things out. So let's take a look at 216 x cubed. 216 is actually 6 cubed. So what this is 6 and x that's cubed. And 343 is 7 cubed. So I have 6x and I have 7. Because it's a minus, we're going to use the top one. So it's 6x minus 7. And then it's a squared. Well, this is a. So if I square it, it's 36x squared. Don't forget the 36. The 6 itself is squared too. So it's 36x squared. And then we're going to multiply these two things, which makes 42x. But this one has to be a positive because the minus was already used. There's only one minus in the whole thing. And if you already use it because the main problem was minus, then you can't use it again. And then the last part is where you square what was the cube is now the square. Okay, now, saying this, saying a couple of things that are wrong. If you do 6 squared x squared, I don't accept that. If you do 7 squared, I don't accept that. You actually have to give the number. Okay, so that makes this the correct answer because I multiplied the things. Let's see if I can do it. I can, yay. The next one is the exact same type of thing, except the numbers are different and the plus is there. Because this is a plus, that means this one's going to be plus and this one's going to be minus. Okay, so we'll let me actually do those. Actually, I put plus here and a minus there. And so it's going to be a binomial and then a trinomial. All I have to do now is determine what these are. So 64 is 4 times 4 times 4. So I have a 4 and an x that's cubed. 125 is 5 cubed, so I'll put it with the y. So it's plus 5y cubed. So that means I have a 4x and a 5y. And here I have 16x squared. I'm squaring them. And then I multiply them, 20xy, but that's minus. And then the last two get the 5y and 5y. Those get multiplied, well, 2 5y's. So it's plus 25y squared. Okay, so mainly watch out for the negatives where they're supposed to go and memorize the pattern. This one is a straight up memorize the pattern. If you understand why it exists, go back and read some textbooks, math textbook, go do some searching on it. And it can be derived. It's possible to figure out why it's that way by deriving it from some problems, and you're welcome to go and do that yourself. For our purposes right now, just memorize the formula. Okay, in this case, just get it down and memorize the differences, and then you'll use it a lot. All right, I hope that helps with some of these factoring things because you'll see these come up quite a lot and quite a lot of problems that are going to arise this year. Thank you for listening.